is that when we look at how the Quran speaks about sins, it is harsh, it reminds us of its consequences, and it does not fall short in doing so. Take, for example, zina, fornication, adultery, wal-'iyadhu billah. The Quran denounces it in the harshest of terms, and it speaks about its consequences. When we talk about as-sariqa, theft, shurbul khamri, consumption of alcohol, lying, false testimony, cheating, the Quran does not fall short in denouncing these sins and explaining the enormity of them. However, when the Quran speaks about the topic of finances, the tone of the Quran changes altogether. Take, for example, the topic of interest, and notice the tone of the Quran. Allah Almighty said, فَإِن لَمْ تَفْعَلُوا فَأْذَنُوا بِحَرْبٍ مِّنَ اللَّهِ وَرَسُولِهِ. If you don't stop using it, then take notice of war from Allah and His Messenger. We don't find a tone like this used in the Quran for any other sin other than the use of finances in haram. And that is why Ibn Kathir, he said about this ayah, that Abdullah ibn Abbas, the companion, he said, يُقَالُ لِآكِلِ الرِّبَى يَوْمَ الْقِيَامَةِ خُذْ سِلَاحَكَ لِلْحَرْبِ. It will be said to the consumer of interest on the day of judgment, take your weaponry, prepare your sword, here is your shield. You are going to war with Allah. La ilaha illallah. Such is the enormity and the size and the gravity of the topic of amwal, finances, in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But here we must ask a question. What does it mean when we hear the term al-malul haram, prohibited wealth? What does that mean? Is it limited to the obvious sources of haram income, like buying and selling, trading with alcohol, trading with intoxicants, tobacco, drugs, whatever it may be, using interest? And the answer is no. The concept of prohibited wealth in Sharia is a lot wider than that. And here are three categories as an example of prohibited wealth. The first category is something that is permitted, but it is purchased from haram wealth, so it becomes haram. Something that is permitted, like fish, vegetables, beef, these types of products, it is by default permitted. But when it is purchased from haram money, it becomes haram. The second category, a product that is haram, even if it is purchased from halal money, the opposite scenario. Something like pork, something like alcohol, something like tobacco, this is by default haram, and even if the money that is used to buy it is halal, the ruling does not change in the eyes of Allah. Category number three, earnings that are made from the likes of interest, the likes of prostitution, the likes of theft, deception, fraud. This is also comes under the category of prohibited wealth. So you see, the umbrella is vast. Not just that, the scholars of fiqh have also spoken about the ruling of praying extra salah and nafilah when you are an employee who is being paid to do a job by an employer. Are we allowed to pray this salah or not? Imagine, it affects the status of your wealth. In Manar al-Sabil fi Sharh al-Dalil, a Hanbali book of fiqh, they discuss this matter. As for the obligatory salah, the 5 salah, the scholars are agreed it should be prayed even when you are at work. And then the second discussion is al-rawatib, the emphasized sunnah that is connected to the 5 prayers. Should we pray that when you are working for an employer or not? The scholars have differed. Some they said you need to seek permission from your employer, and some they said no permission is needed because they are emphasized. And then you have the third category of salah, which is as-sunan al-mutlaqa, the non-specific sunnah, the acts of voluntary salah. And it was the opinion of Imam Ahmad ibn Hanbal rahmatullahi alayhi that this prayer should not be prayed if you are being paid by an employer to do a job, if it is going to affect your employer in any way. Can you imagine? And so the umbrella of halal and haram wealth is vast. And therefore, for example, a brother who works as a lecturer at, say, university or school, and is purposely going into the theater 15 minutes, 20 minutes late, this is money that he didn't work for. This is prohibited wealth. Somebody who uses his 9 till 5 work in order to do online shopping, or to take his kids to school and bring them back from school, what type of wealth is this? You are not paid to do that. Somebody who is using his time at work to surf the internet, to engage in other business ventures, to casually surf the internet with things that are not to do with work, this comes under the exact same category. The matter is serious, therefore, dear brothers and sisters. And a person who does not investigate his wealth to see if it is halal or haram, then this person has unleashed against himself and his family a weapon of mass destruction. And what makes this weapon, brothers and sisters, so devastating is that it doesn't make any obvious sounds of explosion. It doesn't have a particularly toxic smell. It's not a weapon that tears down buildings or causes the earth to shake. It doesn't do that. But this weapon is so severe that it can single-handedly bring down your dunya and your deen all together at once. That is the weapon of prohibited wealth.